now what we do is we expand in the when the parameters are small. Let me ensure you that public worked it backwards, okay, not this. People knew Pauli matrices before they knew SU2 in general. So they must have worked out what it becomes with a given Pauli matrix. So we can now see that and I will tell you a very, very simple way of guessing Pauli matrices. If you know spin up and spin down, then it's very easy to see how you get Pauli matrices. So now you define the generators. At first, let me just say x theta equal to minus I d by d theta of u at theta equal to 0, all the angles equal to 0, theta, phi and gamma equal to 0, and similarly, so x gamma equal to minus d by d gamma of u, is just write gamma equal to 0, etc., and x phi in fact we can do it with other angles being 0 at a time. So if you look at the e raised to I theta matrix, should I work here or below? Okay. So for x theta, instead of doing this differentiation, all I can do is expand that. It becomes equal to 1 plus I theta plus dot dot dot, and the lower component is 1 minus I theta plus dot dot dot, and I can set others to 0 for the time being, set other parameters just to 0. So this expansion after removing I, this is equal to 1 plus I times 1 minus 1. This is called sigma z or sigma 3 matrix. Then let us look at the gamma dependence e raised to, so I set a phi to 0, okay. So that will make these things 0. So I am looking at this matrix, and in it now I am interested in the gamma part. Can you see? Yeah. I am interested in determining what happens for small gamma. So I set phi equal to 0. That doesn't even require me to worry about theta, because that sets this to 0 and these two factors to be 1. So I am left with 1 plus I gamma plus dot dot and 1 minus I gamma. So this becomes equal to 1 plus I times, okay, I am not going to get Pauli matrices after all, looks like. Oh, there is a minus sign, good. So there is this minus sign. So that gives, but there is a minus. So minus times 1 minus I gamma so I am getting minus 1 plus, so I have this is not expansion we expect, because we want it to be identity plus something. So what happens if we do d by d gamma of this, okay. So these terms are not important because they are anyway not dependent. So I get I times, so du by d gamma is equal to I times e raised to I gamma cos phi. Good, that is the way to do it. And then when I differentiate this, I get I times e raised to minus I gamma times cos phi. So if we evaluate this at, and our definition was removing one factor of I after evaluating at gamma equal to 0. So if I evaluate this at gamma equal to 0, and of course phi also equal to 0, then we get the matrix 0 I 0. Good. Okay, so I made the mistake of the trick that works on the diagonal, of course doesn't work in this case, because you cannot extract a diagonal identity matrix. So you have to do the matrix differentiation as a matrix function, which means you differentiate each of the elements individually with respect to the parameter. This didn't contain any gamma, so I set them to 0, and they are sin phi, so I set them to 0, leaving cos phi open at first, and then we get from differentiation this matrix. Similarly, doing for the phi, there I don't have to worry, because no, may as well. So here I can set theta and gamma 0 from the beginning, it doesn't matter, and then I get du by d phi equal to cos phi and minus sin phi and cos phi, sin phi, evaluated at phi equal to 0 becomes 0 minus 1. Okay, so let me show you the other notes that I am looking at. So this one simply begins by writing out the structure. We wrote A star, A minus B star, right? We had A minus B star, B A star. So if we write out as A minus B star and B A star, so write real part, imaginary part, real part, imaginary part. This is A, this is A star, this is B, and this is minus B star. And now you just expand this in real part of A, imaginary part of A, treating them, each of them small at a time. So it is AR times identity, BR times 1 minus 1, I times imaginary part B times 0 1 1 0. So the unitary matrix, not the special unitary, because we have not, in this we have not put the determinant condition, which is product of this with and this plus A square plus B square equal to 0 has not been imposed. So the unitary 2 by 2 matrix, so let me over here put the conclusion to this by saying that so this is giving sigma 1, and this will give me the Pauli matrix sigma 2 matrix, provided this is evaluated at pi by 2, not at 0. So I put the question mark whether this is a good way of deriving it, but certainly this characterization doesn't go wrong because it is correct. It is not so good for extracting generators, because I want to extract generators by using the point equal to 0. So, I am sure this is good for some purposes, but not for the purpose we are trying. But we can go back to that this characterization seems to be good, but it is not so good for deriving the generator, because it relies on evaluating at pi by 2, which is not what we want to do. You can use that convention, but we are not going to use it. So, let me just go back to the AB convention. So, and write it out as A star. Write it out as A real part plus I times A imaginary part, B is equal to B real part plus I times B imaginary part, minus BR minus I times so B star will make it minus I, but this minus sign will make it plus I times B imaginary part, and A star is AR minus I AI. This can be split into AR times the 2 by 2 identity matrix plus I times AI times 1 minus 1 plus I times BI times 0110 and plus BR, but I pull out a I for good luck. So, if we do that, then I have to put minus I here, 0 and 0. So, I think this is the simpler and cleaner derivation, because now in fact it is not a, it is a linear function of these parameters. So, taking infinitesimal limit individually for SUN, which does not need AR, we get 3 generators called sigma x or sigma 1 equal to 0 1 1 0, sigma 2 equal to 0 minus I 0, and sigma 3 equal to 1 minus 1 0 0. We need to argue why the identity is not part of the special unitary one, but subject to that, these are the generators we get. Now, the interesting part of this is that we can check exponent I times sigma 1 by 2 times theta 1 forms a subgroup. We can see that it forms a subgroup because as I for with theta 1 as parameter. So this we may call ux or u1. So and I will tell you why I am putting a half. Okay, the theta is some parameter. I will use the parameter theta by 2 for a reason that we will quickly explain. Similarly, u2 equal to exponent of I sigma 2 by 2 times theta 2 and u3 equal to exponent I sigma 3 by 2 times theta 3. So we can check business can be done easily because all we have to do is take square of sigma 1 squared is equal to identity matrix, and so sigma 1 cube is sigma 1 and so on, and so sigma 1 to the 4 is back to being 1 and so on. So if I take exponent of I times, so when I have substituted an I in it, sigma 1 squared with I squared will give minus 1. I times sigma 1 cube will give, okay, so thus sigma 1 whole squared is equal to minus 1 and I times sigma 1 cube is equal to I times sigma 1 minus I times. And I sigma 1 to the 4th power returns to being returns to being 1. Right. So the power 2 gives minus identity and power 4 gives plus identity. Third power gives minus times the original matrix. So this is cosine and sine series because alternating in the even powers and also alternating in the odd powers. So we get that now writing a very, very important formula, and I chose for some strange reason parameter theta by 2. So we will stick to it for the time being and we will later see why we put the half factor. So this times the 2 by 2 identity matrix and plus I times sigma 1 by 2, I times sigma 1 times sine theta by 2. So the half factors will go with the theta parameter because sigmas themselves are just their squares are ones, ones or back sigmas. Same thing holds for u2 with theta 2 and u3 with theta 3, and more generally u, and I will put now subscript n cap of some theta. With the convention we put theta, that we put theta, so let us put it down, exponent I times theta by 2 times sigma dot n cap, okay, where n cap is a unit vector. So if you exponentiate this combination, what you have to do is check the sigma dot n cap matrix for its square and for its cube and so on. It will have exactly the same properties that we saw so far, and will give cos theta by 2 times identity plus I sin theta by 2 times n cap dot sigma. Okay, sometimes people also write the theta times n cap dot sigma is converted to be as if it is modulus theta. I shouldn't say modulus because that's confusing things, but theta times a theta cap, call the n cap to be as if it is the direction vector of some vector called theta, and so people write theta dot sigma as well, where theta is now directly a 3 entries. So this is complete misuse of vector notation, because theta 1, theta 2, theta 3 do not form a vector in any sense by any stretch of imagination. But there are 3 parameters theta, this is all it means. There are 3 parameters theta 1, theta 2, theta 3, and you could have just taken theta 1 times sigma 1, theta 2 times sigma 3, sigma 2, theta 3 times sigma 3, then extracted the modulus of them. So in this language, theta becomes equal to square root of theta 1 square plus theta 2 square plus theta 3 square. Okay. So that is another way of thinking about it, but it's a bad one because theta is not any kind of vector, it's a set of 3 parameters. So now we come to the interesting punchline of all this, is that the algebra of sigma matrices which are also called Pauli matrices and in many books sigma matrices are written as tau matrices, use symbol tau. I will tell you when to use tau and when to use sigma. So also called Pauli matrices, and the algebra is clear. Any of the sigma I square is equal to identity matrix. But more interestingly, sigma I sigma j is equal to I times epsilon ijk sigma k. This is a special property, so we check this. If I take sigma 1 sigma 2, that is equal to 0 1 1 0 times 0 minus I 0. So this becomes this row into this column I, this row into this column is 0, this into this is 0, this into this is minus I. So it is equal to I times sigma 3 matrix. So you can cyclically check this for sigma 1, sigma 2 and sigma 3, and you will essentially get this epsilon, the cyclic property. But this is a special property of sigma matrices which does not generalize to SUN. Okay, this is special to SU2. But what generalizes to SUN actually follows from this or is related to this, which is the commutator algebra. So if we take sigma 1 or sigma I, and now I insert my favorite factor 2, half rather, so we can check this if you like. So can be generalized to SUN, but other coefficients Cijk. Not epsilon ijk, but some other coefficients. They are called structure constants of the group. And this, you want to check it, you can check it actually. It just requires multiplying 2 by 2 matrices. So, but the half factor is important, without which you will not get the, if you don't put half, then you have to modify this coefficient by factor 2. You can multiply both sides by 4. If you multiply by 4, because it will cancel these 2's, and a 2 will be sticking here. So the constants will involve this arbitrary 2. So people prefer putting it here, so that then they are like normalized. The epsilon ijk matrix is just either 1s, minus 1s or 0. So it is unit kind of size. So this is that convention, and that is what we put in the, that is why we put theta by 2 here as well. So actually the half factor belongs to the sigma and not so much to theta. It is better to think of it as exponent I times theta times sigma by 2 dot n cap. Okay. So this acts as the unit, this acts as the generator. Sigma matrices also have the additional property that about their traces. Trace of all of the any of the sigmas is 0 is on the diagonal, and that's famous property of Pauli matrices. And the trace of sigma I sigma j is going to become equal to trace of the epsilon ijk is a symbol, so I can take it out. It will become trace of sigma k. So this is equal to 0 unless I equal to j. So trace of sigma I sigma j is equal to delta ij times 2, because when I equal to j, so the finally applies to these two properties of traces 1 and 2. Trace of individual sigma is 0, and if you take trace of a product, then if I is not equal to j, we get trace equal to 0, and if I is equal to j, then it becomes identity matrix in 2 by 2 matrix, so it will become 2. So now we see the analogy of this with the rotation algebra. It's exactly the same. The algebra of the sigma by 2 matrices is exactly the same algebra as the J matrices. So we will explore the correspondence between SO3 and SU2. So that's for next time.